right, people, let's go. Today, looking at scrolling text. It is a Java exercise, and I'm going to do it in Codewars. Yep, once again, still in Codewars. Still grinding, baby. Let's get it. Let's create some scrolling text. Your task is to complete the function which takes in a string and returns an array with all possible rotations of the given string in uppercase. So this method is going to take in a string and you're going to give it all the possible rotations. And what the hell are rotations? Let's take a look down here. If given the string Codewars in the method, it'll return this array. All possible rotations. So what does that mean? We get a string in a certain order, and the possible rotations are all of these that you see here. It's kind of like scrolling text, like you see those displays where it appears that the text is like moving left to right or something like that. This is sort of how it is done algorithmically, where the letters are arranged such that it looks like it's scrolling, but it really isn't. It's more of a rearrangement of the letters. So the task here is to return all the possible rotations, and really when you look at it, what it is the first element is going to be the original order of the word or the string, and rotation occurs via this process where you take the first letter, put it at the end, and really that's it, because when you take the first letter, put it at the end, the rest of the letters sort of shift forward, even though they don't, but they occupy by default the position to the left. So when I take the C and put it at the end, the O becomes the first letter. Then when I take the O and put it at the end, the D becomes the first letter. And then when I take the D, put it at the end, the E becomes the first letter. And you continue to follow this process really until this last rotation. If you play this one out, you put the S at the end, then the C becomes the first letter, and you're back to the original ordering. So it'll rotate all the way around, which is why they call it rotation. You continue this process over and over, you're going to get back to the original ordering of the word. And it says uppercase, so know that if you're taking in a lowercase string, you're going to convert it to uppercase, and you're going to return your solution in uppercase. So really, uppercasing should be done immediately once you get into your method. Yeah. So there's the rotation, folks. And here's a pattern here. When you look at the number of elements, the number of elements is going to correspond to the number of characters in your string. So here Codewars has, I believe, 8 characters. Notice how many elements are returned in the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can use that pattern to determine how many elements you're going to need to return in your array. It's going to be 8. Or actually, it's going to be according to the number of characters in the string. So the number of characters in the string corresponds to the number of elements that you is returning. Armed with that information and explanation, we can move forward with the ish. Let's go. Enough talking, let's move. Stay in your head, you're dead, folks. Gotta get action going. And being that this is Java, we got our little boilerplate stuff going on. Gotta love the verbosity of a Java. So this string text is going to be my original string, and I'm going to uppercase it immediately because it says the result is going to be in uppercase, so I'm going to uppercase it right off the bat. I'm going to return all the rotations in an array, so I must create an array that I'm going to put stuff into. I'm going to put the strings, the rotations, into. And so yes, I'm going to create an array of strings that I'm going to put all the rotations into. And I was showing you the pattern of how big do you make the array. Of course, when you create an array, when you initialize it, you must give it a size. What's the size going to be? The size is going to be equal to the number of characters in the original string. So I'm going to get text.length, or length if you will, depending on how you say it. Okay, so I've got my array set up to hold all of the rotations. And looking back at the example that's given, you see that the first element is the unrotated string. So I can go ahead and snap that in because I don't have to do any work to get my first element. So I'm going to go ahead and put my first element into the array. First element is simply going to be the unrotated string. For the rest of them, I'm going to do rotations, but I don't think I need to explain further. Y'all got it. Now I'm going to loop because I want to automate the rotations via a generalized process, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll explain my header a little bit here. I'm going to loop and do one rotation for each turn of the loop. I'm starting I at 1 because I already have my first element handled. So I don't need to add the element 0, it's already there. So I'm going to start with element 1 in my rotation array. And of course I'm going to go the length of the original string because that's how many elements are going to be in the array. Or that's how many elements are in the array. All right, here is the rotation, folks. Here it is, where I was saying that for each rotation, you take the first character and put it at the end, and there's your rotation, really. So what I do here is I get a substring of the original string beginning at the second character all the way to the end. That's going to be the beginning of my rotation. The end of the rotation, the last character, is going to be what was the first character. So like in Codewars, it's taken in Codewars, it's taking the C and simply putting it at the end. You see? Taking that C, putting it at the end, and this substring 1 is this portion starting with the O, because I'm starting at index 1 and going to the end. Index 1 going to the end, first character that becomes the last character, there's your rotation. And it's going to do that for each iteration, and every time I do that, I'm going to replace what was the original string, so it'll have the effect of doing the continuous rotation where first character becomes the last. Then on the next turn, the next character becomes the last. So it's this rotation, rotation, rotation. Once I do the rotation, I want to, of course, store the result in my array. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say the next element of my array is going to be equal to my latest rotation of the string. I rotate here, I store here. And that is it. Time to return to home base, return that array that's now filled with the rotations, and that's it. Time to run. It was born to run, baby. Shout out to Bruce Springsteen. I think that's his song. Born to Run? I don't know. Some of you older cats can let me know. That looks good. All right, outstanding. That's one of my words right there. Outstanding. Absolutely, absolutely. So that is it, folks. This is scrolling text done in Java from good old Codewars. And that's it for me, and that's it for you. Until the next video, have a good one, and I am out.